So, Rich, Stephanie Vaquer is heading to WWE, and it's like everything with AEW and WWE, a little controversial. The question is, does AEW have a case that WWE in any way played dirty with Vaquer and how this played out?
I don't think so. I think they have a. I think CMLL has a lesson to learn in terms of their contracts and how valid they may be. I know Stephanie herself tweeted she left and she wrote it in Spanish and then it was translated by Lucha Blog and others who are far better at Spanish than I am. That she left out of the front door. She was very secure in saying that on her Twitter feed, so to make sure fans and media alike were aware she did not do anything duplicitous. And from a timeline standpoint, it goes to show the dangers of utilizing a wrestler that isn't under contract on your TV, on your pay-per-views, putting them up against talent because it's a bit of a two-edged sword. And I think
Mhm.
for AEW, that two-edged sword is even more pronounced when it's Mercedes Moné, particularly with WWE.
Because Mercedes, when if AW features a talent that maybe hasn't landed on WWE's radar recently,
Mhm.
and they look good and ready to go, if it's against Mercedes, WWE is seeing somebody who's a WWE product,
Mhm.
who it's basically a WWE style dress rehearsal for. Is this someone that we could then, if you're WWE, drop into our women's division and wrestle the WWE style that they advocate for?
Right. And not only the WWE style they advocate for, but the one that they've evolved in the last few months with Paul Levesque kind of taking the wheel, where they've let some of the restrictor plates come off. They've done a little bit more of the engaged, the more like let's wrestle for wrestling's sake, but it's still within that guidepost. And so
Yeah.
for them, you have a former horsewoman. So you have one of the four best products they've been proud to put out there. Similar in many ways to when Regal was in AEW. You have a person that is intimately knowledgeable of the system WWE runs. And I always liken it to like if you're on a football team, you have a coach that knows your system. They move to another team and they may start rating your team for talent because
Mhm.
they know the system you want to integrate. So with Stephanie, yes, excellent wrestler. Yes, absolutely. WWE is trying to be hyper competitive with AEW. Yes, she had several tryouts when they tried their South and Central America tryouts and they publicized those, and for her Chilean background, that made sense. But this is also a person that they know they can put in, and like you said, it's she's plug and play to the point
Yeah.
where she quit her dates with New Japan and CMLL. She vacated her titles, which again, if she was looking to completely go scorched earth, consider Medusa when she had the women's title showing up on television, Ric Flair
Mhm.
showing up in WWE television with the NWA or sorry WCW World Title. Didn't do that. She relinquished the titles, but she is going to wrestle in Monterey, and I want to say one other spot this weekend. And they've posted see Stephanie in action in Monterey and Mexico City. And so, just like when CM Punk came back, just like when Cena came back or is coming back, I would probably assume the WWE equivalent on the men's side is Dom. I think on the women, I would assume she's wrestling Natty Neidhart.
Speaking of Natty, Ronda Rousey mentioned her in interview. Oh, was it CBS Sports that she did the interview with?
I think
I
so.
don't want to get the credit wrong on that. Um, and Ronda talked about Natty and Natalia recently, noting that there were more women on a WWE live event than men, and Ronda was touting that you're talking about under the Paul Levesque, what we're seeing when it comes to the WWE women's division, and there is more of a commitment right now to that women's division, and strengthening it with somebody as good as Vaquer is a smart move. Now, her going to NXT has been a bit of a point of controversy. We it's we're sort of mocking. I push back against the mocking a little bit because I think there's some value in learning the WWE system and coaches getting to know you and what your strengths are before they throw you on TV. But why? What do you think about Vaquer having to go to NXT when Jade Cargill didn't, for instance? My argument is Jade Cargill's a finished product as a character, but not finished product in the ring. And then they team her with Bianca Belair. Boom, everything's taken care of. Big star. We're ready to push her. With Vaquer, they might kind of want to get a feeling for her speaking ability, what they want her character to be, what they want fans to think about her, what the emotion reaction is to her, and maybe they don't want to put her on the big stage until they work that out. And so my argument, Rich, is it's not an insult to her. People who are an advocate for her match quality shouldn't see that as a slight. It's just with her, there's a little bit more of an orientation process that WWE feels they need to have with her. What do you think about that, or that framing of it?
I agree. And I also look at it like this. You have, and I saw a tweet about this when I was out and about earlier this morning. And the focus was the gentleman's name was Sagano Fan, Sagano 300. NXT's parking lot may be no longer the most dangerous place in wrestling. Their women's division is gunning for that spot. And it's a picture of Stephanie, Julia, and another wrestler that they've alleged to have signed from Australia named Delta, who is another very good, very talented, very physical female wrestler. And so you have, between the three women, the very thing you're talking about. Let's get them on TV, but not in an environment where it's a little too much pressure for them right now. Unlike with, you mentioned Bianca helping out with Jade. I think the fact that Jade and all the other wrestlers that were called up from NXT, as Shawn Michaels mentioned when he got Jordan Grace, and he said it was kind of like a make good from Hunter for the folks that kind of got pulled before he was ready to let go. This system right now with Levesque at the top in main roster, Michaels in NXT, sets all of these people up for success in a way that I think is even better than what it was with Regal and Levesque with McMahon over his shoulder, because now they're going to be aligned in how they view Stephanie, how they view Julia, how they view Delta. So in the case of Stephanie, if she needs to work on her English, that isn't something that's going to be chuckled about or undermine her the way they did Andrade. They could have treated Andrade when he first came up the way that they treated him in the NXT roster, where you had a lot of the English being done by how did her name just fall out of my head? Oh, I hate when this happens. Andrade was teamed up with
Zelina Vega?
Zelina Vega. I was like Thea Trinidad. It's like, I hate when that happens. Like, I remember her old name, but not her WWE.
Oh, exactly.
So Zelina Vega did.
Yeah.
Zelina did a lot of the talking. She did one or two moves, and they had a good relationship. He had a lot of confidence. He's doing tornillos, this, that, the third. You move him to the main roster, you take her away, you start taking away a lot of the confidence he had, and then he suffers as a result. Goes to AEW, sees the grass isn't greener on the other side, comes back, they give him the presentation he probably should have used with his first call-up, but now he has a little bit of the sin of what happens when you don't necessarily, you're Mr. In-Between. With these ladies, you don't have that. Sean's going to use her. You look at, again, much like the conversation you had between Ronda and Natty, top to bottom, NXT and the main roster women in WWE are now front and center. It isn't just hey, look at what we're doing. Here's the thing, pat on the head. These are folks that are driving the conversation. As much as I dislike, and I heard you and Todd talk about it, the women's title being undervalued with her, with Liv's kind of scumbaggery vis-a-vis Dominic and Rhea. What you see with Stephanie Vaquer, what you see with Julia, what you'd see eventually with someone like a Delta are going to be athletes first. And then as they craft the character around them, what can you do with them? Like you look at Lyra Valkyra, when she was in the Independence as the Yo Valkyrie, she had a lot of these elements, but they kind of sanded off the stuff they wanted to make sure was TV appropriate and then presented her. I think the same thing's going to happen with Stephanie, and I think it'll happen a lot quicker than people think because of the dearth of Spanish-speaking talent on the NXT roster that can work with her through spots while she works on her English.
And, Braun Breaker, people were like, why isn't Braun called up? Why isn't he called up? Why isn't he called up? And it's like, because it's not because they don't have confidence in him, although obviously there was room to refine him, and they obviously tried different things with him in front of a smaller audience. And now they have this refined version of a curated version of what they want Braun Breaker to be to 4 or 5 times the audience that NXT has, or, at least triple NXT to Raw. And so now they've worked it out, and they're not going to have to kind of go back and forth with what they want to do with him. With Vaquer, that may be the idea is, let's try a couple things out for a while, and we're kind of set on the women's division. We want to sign her. We value her. We don't have a spot to just drop her in right now. So there's no downside to having her on NXT. And frankly, I think some people will watch NXT to see her because AEW did do a good job introducing her to some fans and elevating her profile nationally.
Yeah. And as you look at AEW, don't take this as a bad thing. Competition's going to have this competition. Like Tony's seen this. The Jaguars have lost players. Fulham has lost players. If you have a good product, people are going to want to be a part of it. And some people might not. And that's okay. They're not always going to be a fit. A lot of the pushback I saw online about Stephanie was that How dare you show disloyalty? You can go back 3 years and you can see her on video and interview saying her dream is to go to WWE. And if she ever got a chance, she would do it. A lot of reports from other places. I saw the Observer David just reported, even though the first pushback had been AEW claimed the offers were kind of like she was like this way. It's like there was never really in her mind a doubt where she was going if the offer was there. You see the same thing with Shelton Benjamin. He mentioned he had a talk with Tony, but if offered back to WWE, he'd come back. You hear, we'll probably get to it in the Everything Prime, but you think about someone like CJ Perry. And she talked about her time in WWE versus her time in AEW. It wasn't chaos versus order. It was, this is sports presentation. I really appreciated the look here. On WWE, it has my heart and my soul. And if they wanted me back, I would gladly return. That's fine. If you can say we're the best wrestle, you have one of your best not wrestle there. That doesn't mean you're a liar. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Ricochet would rather be in AEW. I'm sure he could have made good money staying in WWE, but AEW is where his heart and soul lies. That's where he feels he can express his artistry, and be most appreciated and be amongst like-minded wrestlers who wrestle the style he wants. It's just, I think it's great to have two different places for different wrestlers with different proclivities and preferences and passions where they think there's a better fit. Doesn't mean you always get your way. Sometimes you're stuck in a company that wants you, even if you'd rather be in the other place. That's going to happen. But with Vaquer, I mean, anything WWE can do to add depth to having really high quality matches in a division where they have the infrastructure and the framework of everything to make people into stars. When the bell rings and you can tell the type of story in the ring that she can, and she gets some refining and good coaching in NXT, I mean, that's great. And, but obviously it's fun seeing Mercedes Moné in AEW. Now she's embraced the heel role, and we get to see her now get to be in the ring. And Vaquer is no longer an option, but there's going to be plenty of them. Britt Baker on the forefront of women that she's going to be able to go out there and have on-air storylines with, and then in the ring matches that pay off in a big way. So, I mean, it's obviously AEW fans, if they were really excited about Vaquer, they wish AEW had offered her a deal first. And before WWE was even in the picture, and so much that she just said, yes, this gives me financial security. Didn't happen. So now you can watch her in WWE, and I think she's in good hands there too. I just think this regime is going to appreciate her, but she's got some work to do in NXT with the team to figure out, how do we put you in a position to draw the most attention to your skill set? How are we going to frame you and present you? Do you have any, closing out, do you have any ideas on that, Rich? Anything come to mind, the way Levesque and Michaels and the WWE creative machinery work with wrestlers? What about her do you think that they're going to hone in on and say, yeah, this, because obviously with Jade Cargill, they knew what they were getting. They knew what they wanted. What is that with Stephanie?
I think Stephanie's very similar to who I mentioned earlier, Io Valkyrie, now Lyra Valkyra, where you can have the best mix of, she has the, not spooky of, say, the Wyatt Six, but she does delve in. You see, like, the horns and the outfits and the pageantry and the majesty. You can have her present a lot of that, but then also, like you said, dig down deep and say, okay, that looks great, but what is this about? Similar to Sheamus. You say Fo'a Bala, you have the Celtic Cross. What is this all about? How do we present this to make a package instead of just elements that people may have seen while they saw you on the Indies or in AEW?
And is she going to be the vast majority of her WWE career, however long it lasts, a heel or a face?
I think most of it she'll be a face. I think she'll be a hard-hitting face. Just like Julia coming in, I think she could do a really good job as how Asuka was when she was in NXT. The hard-hitting, whatever you want her to be. And let's see where the fans take her. Like, if the fans take to her like they did Asuka, it's going to be a face or a heel, and they'll be fine with it. If it's like, say, when you brought in, I'm trying to think of, like, Io, her heel run in the main roster was a revelation to me. I did not think that was going to be something there. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Kairi. When Kairi came together and they did the Kabuki Warriors with Asuka, that was something I didn't necessarily see because I saw her as the babyface in peril for most of her career in WWE.
Very good. All right, we'll wrap up there. I encourage people, if you're not a VIP member, Rich and I are going to continue our discussion as part of the VIP exclusive Everything with Rich and Wade podcast. And we'll put the graphic up on the screen. If you're not a VIP member, go VIP. Whole array of shows, including a new show dedicated to New Japan Pro Wrestling. called the 7-Star Podcast, part of the VIP exclusive lineup. PWTorch.com/GoVIP. Thanks for joining us here on the PWTorch YouTube channel. This is our 12-minute hot take series, our latest. Earlier this week, Greg Parks joined me, and we discussed the pros and cons of various candidates to be John Cena's WrestleMania opponent. We have a poll up where you can vote for who you want him to face at WrestleMania at PWTorch.com. But check out that hot take if you haven't yet. And of course, we also do our post shows after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. The live stream starts within just a couple minutes after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown right here at youtube.com/PWTorch. Thanks, Rich. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Wade.